Hi, this is Chris Heiser from Internet 2 and University of Pennsylvania. And this is Grouper Training End Users for the Lite UI Permissions Part 3. So in Part 1 we talked about getting started, showing permissions for a user, showing who has a permission and showing if a user has a permission and why that user has a permission. In Part 2 we showed how to assign role permissions or user permissions and how to unassign permissions. In Part 3, which is advanced features, we're going to talk about tooltips, start and end dates, limits, and simulating limits. So the Lite UI is part of the Grouper toolkit that is installed and run by the Grouper administrator at your institution, and it uses the Grouper API to talk to the Grouper registry. You can access the permission Lite UI from a deep link or from the admin UI and then from the Lite UI menu. And just note that permissions are used in different ways for various applications, so you need to be familiar with the application permissions and how they use them before assigning and unassigning them. Tooltips, when there are long entries on the permission screen, then the text is partially shown or abbreviated, and the full text is available with the tooltip. So you can identify that a tooltip is there by the fact that there's a dotted underline under the text, and if you mouse over the tooltip you will see the full text. So in this case these dotted underlines are tooltips, and if you mouse over them you'll see the absolute path of each of these things instead of just the extension, which is the last part of the path. So people can name the last part of the path anything they want for a resource, but unless you mouse over it and see the full path, you don't know exactly which role or resource is being used. And you can use naming conventions to help you out a little bit. In this case, the role is called PTO_admin instead of just admin, and that's so that when you see that text on the screen, it'll make sense with just the extension and not the full path. So when you're viewing assignments on the permission screen, you can click the triangle menu button next to an assignment, and it must be an immediate assignment, and click Edit Assignment, and then you can view or enter start and end dates. So when you're filtering assignments, you can show enabled or disabled or all entries if you want. So here we have one immediate assignment. You can see with the checkbox. So if I click this little triangle button next to that assignment, I can edit the assignment. Year, month, day. And now, so you can filter by all assignments to see ones that are not enabled. And here's the one that we just put a start date on in the future. It could also have an end date in the past that would make it not enabled. And this is red to show that it's not enabled right now, even though this is checked. So once this date passes, then it'll be enabled again. Also, you can just see only the disabled assignments if you wanted to. So limits are an advanced topic. You can put a limit on an assignment, which makes it only applicable in certain situations. So see the documentation for the application, and you can put a limit on an immediate assignment, and the application must be expecting it. So you can add a limit to a direct assignment. So in this case, this person can approve things less than or equal to 5 days. So now if you filter permissions, so now the permission assignment screen shows that Barry has the permission of approve, and then this line underneath says that there's a limit less than or equal to 5. So the application needs to send in the number of days that someone is approving when they check to see what permissions they have. And this is called simulating limits. So on the permission screen, you can simulate situations that the application uses or encounters by passing in values that the application will pass in, and you can make sure that the permissions are calculated correctly in line with how you can. So in this case, I can click Simulate Limits. And if my amount is 3, then you can see that this person is allowed to approve it. If the amount is 6, this person is not allowed to approve it. If you wanted to edit this limit, you can edit the value here. You can remove the limit here or edit it here. In this case, it's a single valued attribute, so you can't add a value. But if you edited the limit could have a start and end date as well, or you could just remove it. And then if you want to stop doing the limits, you can just refresh the screen and clear everything out. Click on the quiz link in the video description to reinforce your knowledge of this topic. Thank you very much. For further information, see the info sheets, mailing list, wiki, downloads, etc. The demo server to play around with the group of permissions, and go to the online training home to see more training videos.